here last month, you heard me talking about how one night I was watching The L Word, and then I started masturbating, and then immediately after coming, I started crying. I just want everyone to know I am doing much better. Life is a series of ebbs and flows. Okay, so I think breakups are really interesting. Part of why I think they're interesting is that in the last few years, I've had more breakups than I've had relationships. By that, I mean I've had a lot of situationships, if you've ever heard this term. It's the things that don't get to the point of being official, but maybe you're still dating for a few weeks, a few months. It kind of feels like a relationship. And so I got to thinking about my relationships, you know, before I graduated college versus now. And when I was in college and high school, most of my relationships were abusive in different ways. I'm not really going to get into that because this is like a positive story. And my relationships since then have not been abusive. So great, you know. Then the other difference was when I was like younger in college and before, I was always the one to do the breaking up. I was always the one to end it. And of course, these relationships were really unhealthy. They were, you know, tearing at my self-esteem. But if you're the one ending something over and over, eventually your ego gets involved. And so I felt like powerful or something because I was like always the one to end it. Well, since graduating college, I have never been the one to end it. It has always been the other person. So you can imagine this stark contrast will also affect your ego. And in my case, it hasn't made me like insecure about like how I look or like my personality or something, but it kind of triggered feelings of like, you know, whether or not I feel good enough for another person. And the other difference between my breakups then and my breakups now were when I was in college and high school, the moment that breakup was over, I was like, I'm done. Who cares? Moving on. I didn't shed a tear. I just kept going, and I would get rid of everything they ever touched because of how much I didn't care. And I would, like, and anything they ever got me, and then I would also get new bedding after every relationship. And this was this weird quirk I had because I was like, I cannot sleep in the same bed that I shared with this other person. I don't do that anymore. And the other difference with now is that I feel it a lot more. And not with every person, but with a select couple of people, I get really upset and I actually feel the breakup. And I think part of that is because I'm like more open now and more vulnerable. And so, sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Is that you being more vulnerable?
Yeah, anytime I say something serious, I'm like, ugh. Okay. So after my last breakup, I was like, we need to figure this out. So is anyone familiar with Little Shop of Horrors? Wow, that was not what I was expecting. Okay. What about Moulin Rouge? Okay, so I'm kind of like a mix between Audrey and Ewan McGregor's character. So, Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors, for those of you who don't know, she's like this blonde bombshell, hourglass, like tits out, and has been in this like abusive relationship. Steve Martin is abusing her. And she has this song, because she falls in love with this like savior, and she's like, suddenly Seymour is standing beside me. He don't give me orders. He don't condescend. So that's Audrey. Then there's Ewan McGregor, the penniless writer, who falls for the unattainable and succeeds because it's a movie and he's this hopeless romantic. And in my relationships, I kind of skate between these two archetypes. Now, I am not just a character, you know, I'm a full-blown person. But I create narratives around my life because I'm a writer, I'm creative, and I also don't like to feel my feelings, which I think is something creatives have an issue with. So, for me, I've always, love life specifically, created narratives. And for a long time, the narrative has been, I am the abused one, or I'm in these abusive relationships. I don't know what I'm quoting. They were really abusive. But, like, I'm the hurt one. And so I was refusing to, it's like I had this guard, this wall up when I would get into relationships. And I've gotten better at being more open in the last, like, year or so. But if you have this, like, guard up and all your signals are saying, don't come near this, like, people are not, they're like, okay, I won't, you know? And there, in movies, people do get past this oftentimes. For example, Moulin Rouge. Nicole Kidman's character, she is a sex worker in high demand. She caters to the upper class. She's busy, and she's never seen herself as a part of, you know, romance. She doesn't have time for love. But Ewan McGregor sees this soft and tender side of her and pushes through, and they fall in love. But in real life, I don't know that it happens that way. So, like I said, the narrative was, I'm abused, whatever. The other thing is, over the last few months, I have talked to friends about something, and I'd like to kind of revise some things I've said. So I said that I needed to process I needed to heal from my baggage with butches. This is the thing I was talking about recently. And what I'd like to revise is that it's like a select few people. And I don't want people to box me and make all these assumptions about me because I'm femme and I would be the feminine one in a relationship. So I don't want to box the people that I desire most. When I was in high school, when I was much younger, I'm only 28, not much younger, 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, I was taken advantage of by a few butches. And that is a really cute way to say I was raped. I was raped. And I say that not because I'm not going to start talking about that, but this is something that I wanted to start writing about more and creating things about more. And the reason I haven't is this fear that it's in order to do that, I actually have to admit to that happening. So me saying it to you in this room is step one of saying this happened. So thank you for listening. That's why, is my face red?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, so, and that's why, it's I also wanted to say it because I felt like it was something I really needed to get off my chest to a point pretty soon I was going to be in a Whole Foods, just walking through the produce going, I was raped! And somebody would be like, ma'am, we're just trying to buy avocados. Not right now. So, as a result of that and a couple sexual assaults, I have PTSD, and so I don't handle stress well, and that's something that sometimes has interfered with my relationships. My family is also all balls of stress, so I don't think it's just the PTSD. I'm the least tightly wound. Okay.
Wow.
I'm the chill one. But I like to think of it imagine a 55-year-old man. He's the sole breadwinner of his family. He's a decision maker at a company. He comes home, he has 5 kids and a wife. His wife is never satisfied. He is so stressed out. On Thursday nights, she goes to yoga to deal with her stress. He takes the car and drives up to the hill that overlooks the city. He gets out of his car and is like, ah! That's kind of how stress is looks on me. I think that's how it appears.
I love that.
Okay. So, but the thing I've had to come to terms with in all of this is that I am not the abused little girl anymore. And I haven't been for years. Thank you. This is something that I've carried around, but it's really not affecting my life. So then that meant I had to look at my flaws. And you're actually all catching me at this really interesting time because I'm practicing humility a lot. And so I feel really humble. So I had to start looking at my flaws, and I can be really cold. I sometimes lash out. I can be kind of aggressive. I'm not a name caller, but if we're fighting, I take a couple jabs. I can be kind of mean. And I was refusing to see my side of the issues because I was so focused on this, I am the victim, I am the hurt one, I am the one who gets hurt. So I was refusing to see that sometimes I am also hurtful. And for years I've been saying that I want a long-term relationship, I want to get married one day, I want to have kids, but all of my relationships are ending pretty early on. So I had to do that introspection and see, what am I contributing to this? So all of that being said, I've decided to take a year off of dating, and which is, feels really relaxing. And I've decided to do things to step out of my comfort zone. One of those things was casual sex. I haven't had casual sex in years, did it, and still not really for me. Worth a try. I am someone who doesn't really feel sexually attracted to people unless there's like emotional chemistry or an emotional kind of attraction. So I just it doesn't really satisfy me. And I told my therapist, I was like, I don't understand, I loved casual sex in high school. She's like, I liked a lot of things in high school I don't like now, you graduated 10 years ago. Opinions change, feelings change, we change our interests. I'm like, right, okay. The other thing I did was take boudoir pictures, which is something that I thought about doing for years. I love the idea of doing it, but I had all of this internalized, slut-shaming, whatever, so I wasn't doing it, and I was afraid it wouldn't make me good wife material, which is also ridiculous. So I got the pictures done, and they will be coming to my Instagram soon, so follow me at Barrett. And third, I have decided to try drag for the first time. When I was in high school, I went to drag shows a lot, and I always loved the idea of being a drag king or trying it, but I always felt like, well, I'm not butch and I'm not a tom, so I can't be a drag king. But Bob and Brian is coming to the garage show. Yes, with the Cleveland King Action Pack. So, all of that being said, like I said, even if you're not conscious of it, most of us do have some kind of narrative or story that we play in the background of our lives, and we use it as the reason for why certain things happen to us and other things don't. But I just want to say, I think it's really comforting to know that you can change your narrative anytime you want, and I'm changing mine, and it feels really great. So,